Hello everyone, this is Dr. Jawad from Total Health and Wellness Center. What I'm going to go over in today's video is I'm going to talk about the cross-reaction with people who have gluten sensitivities and they're not getting better, and their main culprit they're having every day, particularly in the morning, is coffee. Most people don't have a clue that they're having a cross-reaction to trying to eliminate gluten from their diet, but also to the foods that they're eating has a cross-reaction, and this is the reason why they're not getting better. Now, the red flags, people who have autoimmune diseases or conditions, people who have fibromyalgia, that's overall muscle soreness, diabetes in particular, chronic pain, dementia, thyroid conditions. This is any type of thyroid condition from hyperthyroid to hypothyroid to the autoimmune disease Hashimotos. What's happening is that the solution is this. This may be the culprit. So skipping coffee throughout the whole day may be the answer to your problem. Why? Why do you ask? I love coffee myself because 10% of coffee contains a protein that will cross-reaction with the gluten antibodies that are formed when you have gluten and trying to eliminate. So I don't want to go into depth and detail about what gluten is, so I'll just give you a short version. What is gluten? It's a protein that's found in all grass-bearing seeds. So if you're eating anything from wheat to rye, grains, rice, barley, your cereals, oat, you're having gluten. And why is it so bad? Because proteins and lectins that are found in the grass-bearing seeds, these are the ones that's causing the problem because they interact with the gut barrier that actually damages cells that form the gut barrier or open up the junctions between those cells, contributing to a development of a condition called leaky gut. Now, 80% of serotonin is produced in the gut lining. So when you're having these foods, this is why your brain is not, let me back up a little bit. Serotonin is the feel-good hormone. So when you're having leaky gut, you're depleting your body of natural serotonin. So testing, most doctors, they do gluten sensitivity testing, however, they miss the mark because they're only testing for one subfraction of gluten, and that's the main one, that's called the alpha-gliadin. However, there are 23 other subfractions of gluten that they don't test for. Now, again, here's all 24 other subfractions of gluten that they're missing. Why? Because alpha-gliadin is the most popular. So if you test negative for alpha-gliadin, they're going to come back to you and say, hey, you're fine, you don't have a gluten sensitivity. You see where they're missing the mark? So the biggest misconception people have is that I don't have gluten sensitivity because I don't have bowel or stomach problems. I don't have celiac. And I always say, great, because celiac, that's pathology. But before pathology occurs, you have to have dysfunction. And remember, the doctors are only testing for that alpha-gliadin. They're missing the 23 other subfractions of gluten. So, but in reality, the gastrointestinal symptoms are the least. Again, they're the least common presentation of gluten sensitivity. The most common one that you ask, this is the neurological symptoms. Again, this is the most common symptom that people have for gluten sensitivities. And this ranges anywhere from migraines, chronic headaches, vertigo, which is dizziness, seizures, epilepsy, multiple sclerosis, Parkinson's, depression, the list goes on. Neuropathy, this is again when you feel nummies and tingies down your hands or your legs. Ataxia, this is clumsiness, okay? Balance and vestibular problems, and most importantly now is ADD and ADHD. These are all neurological symptoms that are showing up when you have a gluten sensitivity. Remember, it's not always gastrointestinal. So the second most common presentation of gluten sensitivity is hormonal imbalance. These are the females that I'm finding out who are coming to my office who have infertility issues. They're trying to get pregnant, but they just cannot get pregnant. Other problems is your immune system. People are having these gluten products and they're having a cross reaction with coffee in particular, and they're having an immune response. Everything is connected to the thyroid. Every system works with each other. So, how are we getting it in? Are we either eating it or drinking it? Basically, it's a combination of both because the immune system thinks gluten is an invader and attacks it. Remember, gluten is foreign. It's a foreign protein our body doesn't like. So what it does, it forms antibodies against it. So your immune system will now attack the tissues that are similar in structure to gluten. Everything is a protein, okay? All foreign antibodies are all proteins. So when you're taking a foreign protein, your body really doesn't understand if it's friend or foe, so it just says, I'm going to attack it both. So there's many presentations with people with autoimmune diseases. Tissues of the body are affected by autoimmune. This is like, if you have autoimmune disease against a thyroid, this is your Hashimotos, thyroiditis, or Graves' disease. If it's against the brain, this is multiple sclerosis, your autisms, your Guillain-Barré syndromes, or psychological issues. Again, this is kind of like your ADD, ADHD. The bones, this is your rheumatoid arthritis. Remember, rheumatoid arthritis hits both sides, not just one. Okay, these are all autoimmune diseases that are affected when you have gluten and cross reactions. Muscle diseases. This is your fibromyalgia. This is your muscular dystrophy. Skin. This is your eczemas, your psoriasis. The lungs is your asthmas. The nerves. This is your peripheral neuropathies and the diabetic neuropathies. And your GI tract. Again, this is your celiac disease, Crohn's disease, ulcerative colitis. And even your blood diseases like leukemia, lupus, hemolytic, and dysglycemia. These are all systems that are affected when you have gluten. Now, let me keep one thing in mind. It's not like a target tissue. So when you have gluten and you have an autoimmune, it goes all over your body. So here's the problem. The problem is your immune system loses its ability to determine what's friend or foe. Why? Because your whole body is under attack. Remember, it's an antibody immune response to gluten. New research has found that new information from an independent research laboratory was released that many people who go on a gluten-free diet, they're failed to improve. Now, why is that? Why? Because they failed to miss, there's a condition called cross-reactivity. What's cross-reactivity? So when you have gluten, okay, gluten sensitivity, you make antibodies against it. Antibodies are like post-it notes, okay, that your immune system makes for a specific invader. The trouble is, the immune system thinks that those cross-reactive foods are gluten, okay? They're post-it notes. So again, it doesn't recognize if it's friend or foe, so it just attacks it. So here's an example, okay? I get this a lot in my office. People who have Hashimotos. Now Hashimotos, it's not a thyroid condition. No, it's an autoimmune condition that specifically affects the thyroid gland. So when you're having products like gluten, okay, your body doesn't know it's friend or foe, so yes, you're going to make antibodies against gluten, so your immune system is going to attack that, but also too, the target tissue is also a thyroid. So this is where you have thyroid conditions when you take in gluten products and or cross-reactivity with foods very, very similar in structure. Remember, your body doesn't know if it's friend or foe. So the solution is diet. Diet is everything, okay? Hippocrates, the father of medicine, he coined the phrase, again, food is thy medicine. You have to start looking out for certified gluten-free foods. Not just gluten-free. It has to be certified, because certified testing, again, they test the products to make sure that there's no gluten in there. So it has to be certified gluten-free. Beware of these ingredients, in particular tapioca, sorghum, buckwheat, quinoa, corn. Again, corn is in everything. Corn is a very inexpensive product that they're breaking that down and putting in a lot of foods, and a lot of people miss that. So all these can cause the same problem as gluten. Okay? So, in addition, coffee. Okay, like in the beginning of the presentation, I said coffee. Remember, 10% of coffee is derived from gluten. Gluten is also tested as well as eggs, milk, chocolate, yeast, soy, rice, potatoes, sesames. Okay. They're highly cross-reactive. They all have a similar structure, so you remember your body doesn't know if it's friend or foe. So here's some tips. So if you're doing very well on a gluten-free diet, but you're not getting any better, what's happening is that give up the coffee. The coffee may be the culprit. Give up coffee, but also you need to get tested for all these cross-reactive foods that could be contributing. Okay? So if you're having these symptoms, And if you want further testing done, please call my office, 630-653-2225, or look me up on my website, www.totalhealthdupage.com. Thanks for watching. I appreciate your time.